Welcome back to New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
And I'm James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com. Whatever we can do to keep these cookies dropping will be amazing. We have got that story. Plus, turning weed farms into data centers. But first, not ready for prime time, FDA approves first mRNA flu vaccine, despite all those pesky safety concerns. Grabbing this from childrenshealthdefense.org, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, approved the first messenger RNA, mRNA-based seasonal flu vaccine, clearing the way for Moderna's Influenza to be used in adults aged 50 and older. The New York Times first reported the approval is a major win for Moderna, which sees Influenza as the next, I hope I'm mispronouncing it, because I don't want their, incantations in my head, which sees Influenza as the next step in expanding its mRNA platform beyond the scamdemic. The move drew criticism from vaccine safety advocates who argued that regulators should not expand the use of mRNA technology before addressing concerns raised during the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. mRNA gene therapy injections, and that's really more. We talk about the magic words. I think saying gene therapy is a much more effective way because people are like, a vaccine. I'll get a vaccine like I take a piece of candy. But when you put the idea of gene therapy, I don't know, it might be too late. mRNA gene therapy injections are demonstrably not ready for prime time, said Mary Holland, CEO of CHD. No new mRNA shots should be brought on the market, and those already on the market should long ago have been removed. It's disheartening to see the Trump administration greenlight these shots, write executive orders about more glyphosate that will undoubtedly have severe adverse effects. Moderna President Stephen Hoge praised the approval, calling it a big deal for us. The company now has vaccines against all the main respiratory pathogens that people face every year, COVID, flu, and of course RSV, and hopefully over time even bring things forward like the combination vaccine. The approval comes as the debate about mRNA technology continues. U.S. Health Secretary RFKJ criticized mRNA COVID vaccines, calling them the deadliest vaccine ever made. The Department of Health and Human Services last year canceled nearly $500 million in funding for mRNA vaccine research. And if you received the percentage that these vaccines work as a grade back in school, you would fail. So now they would probably just pass them. So I realize my analogy might be dated, but I don't think the data is. The 2024-25 flu vaccine season demonstrated an overall adjusted vaccine effectiveness, VE, of 56% against medically attended influenza in the United States. That was, I believe, an F back in school. Search flu vaccine success percentage from last season. And is this the return of the rubber stamp? First mRNA flu vaccine has far higher injury rates than the standard jabs. That's from Just the News. And the fantastic Dr. John Campbell has a video we'll link up. FDA approves new mRNA vaccine despite the risks. And James, before I throw it back to you, we were talking about this morning on Morning Monarchy, and somebody made the really pithy comment that the FDA, it was probably in the form of a meme, the new pithy comment, that the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, the food makes sure that the drugs part has constant new customers. They feed you a bunch of garbage and say this is all good so they can get you on the main line over to all their fantastic drugs. They kick you down the stairs and sell you the crutches. But I'm wondering, James, if the FDA got their hair on fire memo from Moderna. I cannot find our coverage on it. I can't find maybe the magic words to search in my archives. We covered it years ago. Internal documents show how rigged this process is. They would get memos that say, you need to approve this yesterday, man. If that sounds familiar.
It sounds all too familiar. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what magic words. If anyone can dig that up from our New World Next Week archives, please do let us know. But yeah, I'm sure we have covered that before, and we've talked about that in various different ways in our own reporting on, say, the glyphosate or the aspartame, or the various ways that these toxic slurries are approved. But yeah, exactly right. It does sound just too familiar. It sounds like business as usual, underlining the word business. And so it is disheartening to see the Trump administration greenlight these shots. Seems like the understatement of the century, because isn't this why, I don't know, half the public were so excited about Trump 2.0? Maha, guys, we're going to stick it to Big Pharma. ... Oh, wait, no, they're approving this Mflusiva, whatever, and not monstrosity. They're giving immunity to Bayer for the Roundup cancer causation, etc. So, yay, wonderful. This is apparently what Make America Healthy Again actually means in political reality. Did you expect anything different? But let me just underline the point that you're making there. It is not a trivial point. What's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, and a toxic slurry of genetic gene therapy would be as deadly, right? Whatever it's called. But yeah, let's not commit these stupid corporate brand logo names to memory and recite their corporate incantations for them, Lucifer or whatever. Remember, they were trying to call their COVID-19 shot immunity or whatever garbage name they came up with it, remember? And who cares? Don't try to remember it. Right. Don't repeat it. Call it the toxic slurry. Call it the gene therapy. Call it genetic modification garbage. Call it clot shot. Whatever you call it, just make sure that you underline what it really is. And I think that's part of what we can do to undermine this in the eyes of the public and to remind people, hey guys, I don't know what you voted for, but this is what you get.
That is our first segment of Conspiracy Realism on this New World Next Week, episode 640. Hair on fire, I swear, is the catchphrase. So we're try and find this. Hair on fire was, I believe, the phrase that they used. And we're going to have to tell our parents not to get these new mRNA flu shots. And hopefully, we're coming at the table with a lot more proof behind us than maybe we would have had or they felt that we had in 2020 and 2021. Our second story pretty much keeps it on the same tip. Phoebe Gates and co-founder caught in the cookie jar. Slack logs contradict Phia's 24-hour bug BS. Grabbing this from Zero Hedge. Everything we say and play always included in the show notes. See, they're even trying to steal the real of Phoebe Gates and sell us back the fake of Phoebe Gates. When Bloomberg first caught Phia, it's Phia. Thankfully, again, don't know how to pronounce it. Thankfully, I'd never heard of this before. It is the AI personal shopping assistant because, we have a lot of trouble with that. Co-founded by Dr. Gates' wiener kid, Phoebe Gates, and climate activist turned founder Sophia Kiani, claiming affiliate commissions on sales it had nothing to do with. The company's ham-fisted damage control was a Silicon Valley classic, an unfortunate software bug discovered within the last 24 hours, and of course it was fixed immediately, except that is total bullspit. According to a follow-up investigation, they knew about it for at least 7 months, and Gates, along with other executives, were actively pushing for its use. According to internal Slack messages and people familiar with the matter, Slack, one of those new platforms that's popped up in the last 10, 15 years to help all your coworkers all be on. James, I think I've been on, is it Basecamp? I've been on Basecamp. I've never had to use Microsoft Teams, but if people have jobs out there in anything approaching the tech world, you're pretty much forced to use some of these platforms. In related news, Snapchat is scanning your private messages. Continuing. According to the report, an internal dashboard screenshot shows the automatic cookie dropping behavior was named a feature flag that could be toggled remotely. Again, it's not a bug. It's literally a feature. Independent researcher Ben Edelman identified it in Phia's own code as enable_coupon_auto_drop. It was reportedly switched on December 10th and switched off July 7th, which happens to be the day Bloomberg reached out for a comment. Two people familiar with the matter confirmed the toggle meant the feature was live. So after 7 months, the bug was magically cured the moment a reporter finally shot off an email. A Phia data scientist estimated in a July 7 Slack message that cookie stuffing accounted for roughly 51% of the gross merchandise value the company claimed credit for in June, per Bloomberg. An internal revenue chart reportedly tells the exact same story. When the features went dark in early July, average daily revenue collapsed from about 80 grand to somewhere around 10 grand. The company disputes that math. A spokesperson called the 51% figure a preliminary analysis built on flawed methodology and says the revenue cliff also reflects Phia voluntarily shutting down most of its monetization at the same time, except when switching off the bug vaporizes the majority of your revenue. That's the business. That's the business. That is a classic. I didn't realize it until I read it out loud. That is another classic commercial catchphrase about businesses who ran things the old, terrible way. It'll come to me and I'll include it in the show notes. That's the business. And remember, you're bad for having kids, but the wannabe bloodline broods just never stop cranking it out. Whatever we can do to keep these cookies dropping will be amazing. Thank you. Just one of the fantastic quotes from the Slack internal logs. Related news from the Gates crime family. Entering the gates of lies, unmasking the climate version of Theranos, and Australia to conduct the largest wild bird vaccination experiment ever attempted with $30 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. James?
There you go. Speaking of continuity with things that we've talked about in the past, here we go. And yes, I'm going to go out on a limb and venture to guess that I haven't listened to this. I don't know, but I'm guessing it's Phia, as in Sophia Kiani, one of the founders here, Phia, right? But I assume. But I hope people will look at that article we're linking up on Entering the Gates of Lies, because they have a link in there to a YouTube short in which the Sophia Kiani, co-founder of this Phia company, is bragging even about this time in college where she invented a fake assistant personality that she could then use to email people to basically make herself look more important than she was. And she's bragging about this, not realizing, of course, that she's telling on her own sociopathic tendencies. But what else would we expect for a business partner getting into bed with Bill Gates's progeny? And yeah, the Gates family apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. I guess the surprising thing about this story is that it's being reported, because I would imagine if this happened even a few years ago, this sort of thing would have been squelched by Bill and his PR team well before it came to this point. But I think this is part of that process that I've been talking about for a little while now, and I wrote that article recently on throwing Bill Gates under the bus. Yeah, the globalists don't care. They don't have any allegiance to these people. At the point at which it becomes more convenient for them to throw one of their dutiful servant minions under the bus, they will do so. And it looks like Gates has been thrown under the bus. So we'll see what eventuates from this. I'm not exactly expecting Phoebe to be doing hard time anytime soon, but there are serious legal consequences to what they're doing here. It really is a crazy story. So I hope people will read these related linked articles to find out more about it. But yeah, speaking of crazy articles, yeah, that thing about the wild bird vaccination experiment is just bonkers. And they're going to collect these 5,000 wild penguins and vaccinate them against an avian flu that they've never even had, and then microchip them and then re-release them and then collect them again later and then re-inject them. It's just this crazy nonsense, and funded by the Gates Foundation. So even if they throw Bill Gates under the bus, it's not like the agenda is thrown under the bus. It's not like the massive amounts of money that have been accrued under that umbrella are just going to go to good causes now. No, they're going to go to the same crap that they've always been, just maybe with a new name at some point.
As we have said many, many times, it's not about Fauci, it's not about Flock, it's not about Blackwater and Monsanto, because they'll just change the name on you. James, it's like a horror movie setup. I find myself missing the times when horror movies were just some weird fringe thing that not too many people actually liked, and now it's just worldwide on the news all the time. It is a kind of a slightly complicated story. I wrote up the too long didn't read. They rigged it to where they get cuts of sales they didn't actually facilitate. Even if you don't click on the coupon drop-down thing in the corner, they still were stealing the credit. It's, I believe, fraud, I think is at least what it might be called. And speaking of fraud, our third and final enraging story on this New World Next Week 640, states looking to turn cannabis facilities into data centers. A growing number of states and provinces are exploring an unusual solution to two very different economic trends, converting struggling cannabis cultivation facilities into data centers. As demand for AI and cloud computing infrastructure surges, citation needed, developers are searching for sites that already have the power, the cooling, the security systems, the HVAC, all the stuff that server operations need. At the same time, following years of falling wholesale cannabis prices and chronic oversupply in many state markets, some cultivation facilities have closed or become underutilized, leaving a stock of power-intensive industrial buildings available for redevelopment. James, I'm glad people aren't as in a cage as they used to be for choosing to use which plants they want to use. The laws passed in Oregon and New Mexico are actually pretty fantastic. Yes, it creates the giant state-run bureaucracy where you can go to a store and get put on a list to go buy their weed, or you can grow it yourself. You can possess it yourself. That to me is the biggest, hugest difference that really matters. And other states that kind of tiptoe into a little bit of regulation or deregulation or legalization, or call it what you want. West Virginia's laws, terrible. I went over this a lot on my morning show. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick just banned Delta 8 in Texas. And there are all these sort of cannabis-adjacent things that have popped up over these last several years, and they seem to be trying to ban kratom, THCA, etc. This is all essentially seems like a big win for Big Pharma. It's a big win for Big Beer. It's a big win for big prisons. And Texas's reputation, I think, as a font of freedom is just as phony as California's. The hot take from my Monarchy members this morning, they made it legal so they could track enthusiasts, then decide to convert grows to surveillance centers to track enthusiasts. Probably was the plan from day one. Get them to go broke building massive grow ops, massively over-leveraged, then buy them for pennies on the dollar, or as I like to talk about in the Monarchy, maybe we could grow coffee in them. I have a thing about dead malls, actually using them to, maybe grow food and things that we need for us here. A few other updates and noteworthy psyops as we were away last week for my birthday. Rio Rancho, New Mexico police arrest man accused of what? Destroying license plate cameras. James, I think a lot of people are just sort of being copycat activated by the news to go do this thing that they heard about. Oh, and they're doing the Ceuta thing again, and it's our job to observe the rules of the sequel. Number one, the body count is always bigger. Another mass storming of Ceuta by Moroccan migrants. This one might be 10,000 larger than the last one, if we can believe anything they talk about. A little bit of good news. Petition to ban hunting and fishing in Oregon fails to make the ballot. They turned in more signatures than they needed, but it turned out a bunch of them, for whatever reason, weren't accepted. Rand Paul pulls another publicity. Man, did you see the talking to? He sure gave Fauci a talking to. I feel better about all my friends and family being dead now. Rand Paul went to Fort Knox to verify the U.S. gold stockpile still totally exists, you guys. You can trust Fauci's nemesis. No actual audit necessary, and definitely don't talk about the Federal Reserve. Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, NBA basketball team sold to Jared's brother Joshua Kushner and Bob Disney Iger for an historic $12.5 billion. Again, as I like to point out, our money has been devalued, so as the numbers get larger, it just turns into like a bagajillion. That's a lot. It just turns into zeros and ones. And breaking news that kind of feels like a crumb when we are starving for a meal. Former Fauci advisor pleads guilty to conspiracy to conceal COVID-19 records. Dr. David Morenz, 78 years old. He could get 5 years at most in what I assume will be a minimum security resort. But really, back to the main question at hand. James, why does Japan hate God's cannabis so much?
It's a good question, actually. Because I always go back to, it was about a decade ago. I just really remember it vividly. There was a university rugby team here that got caught with 2 joints or something. And it was literally national news. It was a big deal. And whatever, the university administration had to commit seppuku. Figuratively, maybe. But anyway, it was crazy. And so for me, having lived here 20 plus years, for people who've grown up in this, I think we probably just assume, Japan's just always been this way. Or maybe it's just part of the Asian sort of overreaction, maybe to the opium wars. We'll never let that happen again. So they crack down on drugs kind of thing. But actually, I was doing some research recently and realized that the cannabis control law here was only brought in 1948. I.e. in the wake of the American occupation, and probably for related reasons, right? And in fact, cannabis hemp cultivation, it was one of the oldest cultivated plants in Japan. It's been cultivated for thousands of years, used not only for food sources, but also for rope and plant fibers, etc. And, along the way, they probably smoked some of it at some point, right? Anyway, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Hemp isn't the thing that you get high off of. That's the stuff you make rope and paper and could probably have powered a car if they wouldn't have hidden all that away. But yeah. So cannabis has been a part of Japanese culture for thousands of years. It has been weeded out, but actually I just found out that apparently in 2023, the House of Councilors here
actually passed a medical cannabis legalization law, or in the House of Councilors,
Introduced it.
Exactly. It hasn't passed yet. It hasn't been actually put into law, and it probably won't be. I'm gonna venture out on a limb to say it won't. But I didn't even know that level had actually even taken place. So who knows? It might change. But if it ever changes in Japan, you can guarantee it'll change in the wrong way. It'll be the regulation, taxation, control, surveillance grid version of it, rather than hey, this is an abundant thing that grows out of the earth. Why don't you grow it yourself? No, they won't. I know they won't go for that here.
That is, and again, that really truly is the biggest change here in America over this last decade and a half. It is that it pleases the crown that you are allowed to grow and possess on your own. None of that stuff is tracked. You don't have to register with any of it. And that, to me, again, that is a real change, I would think. Not just hey, we've set up another boondoggle for you to constantly get on our list and pay us for things that, of course, you could do for yourself. James, I think it really is. You of course, I think coined really the Bitcoin psyop, using Bitcoin as the destroyer of anything cryptocurrency. And I think it's the hemp psyop. They've destroyed the ability to do the textiles because it just all gets slathered with the same brush. And as I said on my morning show, weed farms into data centers. Lucifer approves this message. We run NewWorldNextWeek.com as a source for corporate and monarchy gear and goods. You've never seen any ads on our work. Our work is what we give to you, and if it resonates with you, of course, we would love and appreciate your support. A little extra note, though, run by yours truly for a couple of weeks. I am in Bachelortown. If you get something at NewWorldNextWeek.com, it shall be shipped and handled by me. And as always, I just throw in a couple of extra Media Monarchy small stickers in there for you. I actually want to thank Simon for his recent order from the UK. I just sent him off a Corbett Report USB drive. And a thanks to West Armstrong for sending me his music on physical media. He said, hey, I see you on the Corbett Show. I'm on the Corbett Show, you guys. So I played a song. I played it on air this morning. Independent, self-made music sent on physical media to the Monarchy, P.O. Box 189, El Rito, New Mexico, 87530. We are finally, I think, getting some big, heavy rains out there right now. And I do play the exclusive audio of these New World Next Week episodes before James publishes the video. I play the audio on my radio stream, news, music, memes, and more, streaming 24/7 at MediaMonarchy.com/listen. That'll be in about maybe 13 or so hours, James. There's 6:40, man.
Awesome. Truly, you've hit the big time when people can say to you, hey, you're on the Corbett Show.
It's worked out for me, man. I gotta say, I'm pretty thankful. We were listening to episode 43 of New World Next Week from, I believe, 16 years ago today that we produced that. And you even actually say, it is the co-host, co-creator of New World Next Week. That's me. I did name the show.
Yes, you did, and have been vital to it. I could not have done it with anyone else, and so let's continue doing it forward from here. James, thank you for the stories. Let's do it again next week.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks.